Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode, or first episode.
Yeah.
This is our first one for
Numero uno.
for 30 minutes alone. I'm John,
I'm Lauren.
and today I'm pretty excited because I finally got someone to talk to about the left-right game.
And we've been holding off talking about it till we're recording.
Right.
So this is like probably our first impressions together to talk about it.
Yeah, we have not talked about it at all. And it's been really hard for me because I've listened to this podcast drama series, whatever you want to call it, probably like 3 or 4 times now.
Well, when did you first listen? Like when it first came out? Or
no, I was actually it was a work buddy that he told me about it, and I wasn't really paying attention when he was talking about it. He was telling me about it, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And then he kind of went into more detail, and I guess I started listening, and I was like, oh, that does sound interesting. And he was saying it was a podcast. So I was like, oh, I got Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if it's on there. There's our cat, Callie, of course, has to join us. Anyways, he told me about it and I checked it out, and I kind of I listened to the first episode and got hooked because of the mystery, the mystery to it, and the suspense. It was just really interesting to me. Something I haven't really heard.
Well, if you've never heard of an audio drama before, because I've never heard of it, it's not like a podcast where they're talking. Like they're basically, it's like a movie but without odd visuals, so you hear things, they're talking as if they were on the screen, but you're not getting any of the visual part of it. It's all like an auditorial,
right? And it's very like the surround sound. Like
mm-hmm.
I was driving I mostly listen to it when I drive to work, so there's definitely parts in it that like a car crash or something like that, and I would instantly turn around and be like, oh my gosh, is there a car crash around me?
Or like just like people's jeans, like the movement of them walking, or like keys in their hand. Like it's very specific and detailed. Like you can imagine it in your head even though you're not really seeing it.
Right. And it warns you when you're listening to it. It's like,
mm-hmm.
Please try not to operate a motor vehicle while listening. And of course, that's the first thing I do. But I mean, that's the best time for me to listen to stuff on my way to work, since I've got like a 30-minute drive to work. So
well, I was listening to it on the treadmill, which is probably not the best idea because sometimes these characters are like running, and it makes it all the more.
And then you thought I was trying to scare you the whole time.
Yeah. Well, most everyone I know knows that I don't like scary things.
Right.
So even the most minuscule little tense moments in this audio drama were probably more intense for me than they would have been for you. But anyway, so let's just go, I guess, into the whole storyline. Like, spoiler alert, obviously, if you want to watch it or listen to it, rather, don't watch anymore.
Yeah, don't watch it and come back and watch this after you're done so you can kind of follow along.
But it's how many episodes? 10 episodes, and they're
like 30 minutes because there's ads in between, but they're like not very long, so you can skip through it.
2 minutes, you can skip through them.
Yeah.
But
so I'll give a little premise about it.
Yeah, you're probably better at it since you've listened to it.
So basically, a girl from England goes to the States to write she's like a writer, right?
Journalist.
Yeah. And she's writing a story about America. I forget what, America Stories or something like that.
That's the company she works for, American Stories. And she saw it as a tip board. He sent it in as a tip, like this alien encounter. Because they always get all these crazy things sent in, and she saw this one and it caught her eye.
Right.
So.
And so she goes to the States and meets this man, and he tells her all about this. He doesn't really go into detail about the left-right game, but he tells her about like his backstory, and basically he was never into like encounters, like supernatural kind of things happening until he had something happen that he actually like came into contact with something like that, and so that just made him, I guess, look for more stuff like that, and that's how he came across the Left Right game. And so basically, it's a game where you follow these set of rules where you go left, then right, then left. And so what he did was, there's a little more to that.
He's talking about like driving.
Yeah,
so
driving.
You turn left, and then the first left, and take the next right, and you keep going till you get a left.
Yeah, and I guess there's not a lot of places in the States. The way that they described it, there's not a lot of states, or a lot of states with roads like that, which is kind of weird. But like I said, there's more to it. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he lives in Arizona, and there's one spot he found on this grid that actually works for that. And so basically she goes along with him, and she's just like, okay, yeah, you can show me. She's really not like believing any of it. And so they end up like doing the steps, and they go through a tunnel that just kind of appears because it's done. Once you do it right, this tunnel appears, and it's basically like a portal to like another world, basically.
See, that's where like I wanted to talk to you. Like, do you feel like it's another world, or do you feel like it's like one of those alternate realities? Because there's still things that resemble like Earth and like towns and things like that, but it's not realistic. If you go through and listen to the tapes, they're talking about like towns that are like cookie cutter towns, and people just sitting out on their driveways and eating, not driveways, their lawns, eating meals all down the street at the same time, and apocalyptic looking cities. And so they're real-ish type places, but not, you wouldn't see it unless you did the game.
Right. Like you're saying that it could be another dimension or another plane.
Right, because of later in the series you meet characters that aren't alive otherwise.
Right.
So is this like limbo? Is it like
I honestly thought it was limbo at first, but then the further it got along, and then once you get to like the last episode and she meets like a certain character, I mean, you're already gonna know, like when she meets this being.
But isn't it herself?
That's what that was gonna be my first thing. Is that her meeting herself, because she went further along? So basically they traveled, she's traveled the furthest that anyone's ever traveled in this Left Right game. So I don't even think it's a game, to be honest. But they talk about,
it's like enlightenment. Like her character, I'm assuming, went, like you said, so far in the game that she was able to, like Rob Rutherford's wife, send a message to get herself to go even to the game. Does that make sense? Like it's like a time loop.
So what are you talking about, Rob? Which part are you talking about?
So his wife.
That wasn't his wife. That was his son's wife.
His son's wife?
That was his son's wife is the one that got stuck in the game. Marjorie?
Marjorie.
That wasn't his wife, because he had that was his ex. Remember, he got a divorce, so she was really not even in the picture. But that Marjorie was his son's wife.
Oh.
And so his son,
I assumed it was his wife this whole time.
Yeah, that's even crazier, because she got stuck in the game. His son got addicted to, he did it by himself, and he tried to go as far as he could, and then he met his wife, and then I guess she got into it with him, and then they went further and further, and then she kind of got stuck in there, because what she said was she saw Alice, the main protagonist, and she's like, I've been following you the whole time. Like her son, or her husband was trying to find her the whole time, but she wasn't looking for him. She was looking for Alice, because she thought Alice was actually her. You don't remember that? The being was telling her that? She's like, yeah, she was looking for you. She thought she was looking for you the whole time. Or she thought it was herself, but it was really you. And that's why she got really mad at her at the end. And she's like, I've been looking for you the whole time, and I lost the ones I love because of you. I spent all this time looking for you. So that's what that last episode was, when she had
So
pulled
then-
her out of that, whatever that
That
was.
lake thing.
Yeah.
All right, now I have more questions. So who's the guy on top of the car, the big monster thing that tried to like attack them?
That was her.
has-
That was the husband, or that was
The
Rob
son-
Guthrid's son,
Okay,
the
that's what I
husband
thought,
to
so.
Marjorie. Crazy.
So did Marjorie know that her husband had died then? Because wasn't she in the woods right after they had had that scene? Didn't she, Marjorie, talk to Alice?
No, not that.
Not that scene? Never
No.
mind. Maybe I'm mixing up my seasons now.
I put some notes down because I wanted to, so I could remember what I was going to ask.
So that whole scene that we just kind of glazed over with Marjorie and Alice, where she had made it so far in the game, she was in this like big lake where she couldn't determine the difference between sky and water. There was just so much of it you couldn't. That's how I envisioned it. Just kind of like in the scene of Guardian of the Galaxies where it just goes on forever.
Yeah, I just imagined this road, and then like she said, it changed like every so, like there was a lake on both sides, and it went as far as you could see, and and then there was like a city that they went through, and then there was like a big forest. It was just, it goes on forever. But like I had to write some of my thoughts down so I could remember. what I
Go
was
for
gonna say.
it.
So I said I think it was based. All right, so the Left Right game was based off of the time travel / alternate dimensions. So I think it had a lot to do with time travel because God, Callie, you just herself from the future. So that's the part I'm confused about. Is this like a loop?
That's
Just
what I thought it was.
because her friend Tom.
I think he's going to be the next one that gets to go even further than she did.
No, because she only got Tom to come there to save Rob. That was the only reason he was there for her.
But
That's why
you
he
don't
was so
think
mad
he's
at the
gonna-
end.
You don't think he's so interested in the game now that he's not going to go try and do it himself?
Well, he's going to forget about her. That's why this whole thing happened. He got hit by that car. It was like a giant loop. He got hit by that car at the very beginning of
I
the
know.
series, right?
But
He forgot about her. So she sent him all those tapes that he listened to so he'd remember her. So he'd come all the way back around, back to the same exact spot just to save Rob. And then he was like, oh, shit, this is going to hurt. And that's when he got hit by the car. So it's a complete loop. Because what they said was, if she's in one world, the being told her, if she was in one world, everyone's going to forget you about this world.
Mhm.
So that's when she asked her, it was like a fork in the road. Are you going to go further and like learn like things you never thought you could learn that I can't tell you about because you wouldn't understand? Or you want to go back so you have like your family and stuff remember you? Because that's why her dad and family forgot about her.
Sad.
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, so I was thinking it was time travel and the tunnel was a portal and you enter another plane. So the characters they encountered were Tess, because that's what she said she was an observer, that being at the end, which was like, I think herself, because it was her voice, and like still don't understand how they found out about why they shouldn't talk to the hitchhiker. See these little like how did they know not to talk to the hitchhiker all along? Like, but Rob had these set of rules because I think his son was the first one to do all these, and he wrote these down and he showed his dad. But like, how did he know not to talk to the hitchhiker? Because I feel like that's what when this story happened that we listened to, that one couple listened to the hitchhiker, and I feel like it caused a whole chain of events. And like Rob said, like I think the road is pushing back harder than it's ever been since I've been going through this.
Well, I think you kind of almost even answered your own question right there, because if they talk to the hitchhiker, they get messed up and they don't continue the game. They pretty much end themselves because all the people who had talked to the hitchhiker or who don't follow the rules that
Right.
they had already gotten die somehow.
That's true, because she ended up listening to or talking to the hitchhiker. I forget her name.
Bonnie.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Mm-hmm.
Bonnie
Which I
talked
didn't
to
know
her,
that
and
they
then
were-
she would not stop talking about that place that he said that,
Yeah.
oh, you'll love this place. There's your house is there on the next to the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was like, thought she was crazy. And then I guess once you get off, that's the part it's so hard when you're listening to this and trying to imagine what you're actually listening to on some of the times. But like when she was wanting to go to this place so bad, and she ended up going to where she thought the direction was, and then she went off the road and she basically disintegrated, from what I could tell.
Yeah.
From the sounds and like what they were saying. I think that's why this whole thing to me was so cool, because all you're doing is listening to what they're saying and the sounds. That's the biggest mystery for me. It's just like you don't know what's really happening because you can't see it, but like listening to it.
And that's what I was telling him is frustrating for me because I'm more of a reader. I would rather read it and imagine it that way. And some audio dramas, I guess I'm finding, do have transcripts, but this one particularly didn't. And so it's hard for me at some points when so much was going on. Like, I feel like I needed an extra focus to be able to retain it, because there's so much we haven't even really talked about that happened in these 10 episodes.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot to like dissect about this.
It's literally a movie split up into probably 2 movies worth, split up into these episodes.
I was really hoping they make a movie out of this. I think it came out in 2017, but I haven't heard anything about a movie being made. So I did write down the story. I said Bristol sends her friend Tom the audio files to send him to the tunnel to save Rob because Tom has already forgotten who she is. So that was basically it, wrapped up in a nutshell, but with no
context
filler in between.
We should have led with that.
I know, right? Yeah, I should have.
I went down the rabbit hole. Who was your favorite character? Listening.
Gosh, they were all so good. Like these actors and actresses were really good at voice acting. Like I just imagined them in a studio, like doing all these things, and like it's just crazy to me they can act like that. And then like I guess they fill in the sound effects after that. I don't know how that works, but I would say Rob.
He was my favorite too, if only towards the end that he would just start. Like, I could just imagine him as being an old guy just cursing and throwing stuff around, because he would say stuff, the wildest things, to try to get everybody back on track. And he's the only one that made me like laugh out loud.
Yeah, I think it was like he was the guy that played Rob too, like the way he talked and stuff. It was just like, it reminded me of my old coworker, Mr. Ratliff. Because this guy I worked with had a lot of stories and stuff, but yeah, he was definitely my favorite. Just the way he was like a genuine guy, like a father figure.
He's just like a no BS wartime.
Yeah,
like,
I pictured him as a war veteran, because he was in Vietnam War. Who's your favorite hero, Rob? You said?
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so I also said, is this an endless loop? Has Tom already done this before? It took Rob almost a year to make it back to the beginning. So, like, remember when he came back through the tunnel and he thought he was the hitchhiker, and Tom was like, "Oh, I can't say anything. It's the hitchhiker," but it was really Rob walking up, and it sounded like he was on crutches or something. But I'm like wondering, when they separated, he was at that city when they got separated, and that was like a long, like, how did he get back? Because he didn't have the truck. He gave it to her.
He had to walk, I'm assuming.
And then he said, "Oh, there's another thing that with wherever this place was, like when they used the gas for the cars, it would not even it would barely use gas." They said, and like the further you got, the less hungry you were.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably why he walked the whole way.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. What was another thing I was going to say? Do you have to use the rules to make it back?
Yeah, he said in the show, I remember you have to walk
Yeah.
back the way you came. That's why, like, when they had that, there's a scene where some girls drove off the road,
Because they were being chased, right?
right? And so he told them they had to back up, and long story short, they didn't, and they couldn't back up anymore because they
Yeah.
got off the road.
Right. And that's when they got stuck, and that's when Apollo died trying to save them.
Hmm.
Okay, so then there's another part of the story. So the being that Bristol meets at the fork in the road where she told her, you want to go further or you want to go back, already knows what her decision is going to be moving forward. That being is only an observer of the road. So she said she's only an observer of the road. So that's the part I don't really, like, why is she, like, what is the purpose of this whole...
She's an observer because she already knows what's going to happen.
Gotcha.
That's what I got from it.
No, that makes sense. It
But
doesn't
I
have to be anything crazy, but yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if that also means that Bristol doesn't have free will at that point to change her mind. Like if she decided to just go home to her parents in some alternate
Yeah.
loop, if she ever breaks the cycle. I don't know, that'd be interesting.
Another crazy part was when Rob told her at the very beginning, the only reason he started looking at, like, he became superstitious and stuff like that, or into the supernatural, was because he saw, and when he was in Japan, he was in that forest, and he saw that figure. It was fuzzy, and he couldn't tell what it was. And he said it tried to reach out to him, but he got scared and ran off. Do you remember when she was in the woods in one of the episodes? She was down in one of the woods, and she said the same figure was she was trying to like reach out to, and then it just like ran away. It was her the whole time in those woods.
From Japan?
Because it was her. It was that being, because she can like do whatever. She can time travel or do whatever, and she needed Rob to take herself to the left-right game.
That's crazy.
So that got him thinking, oh, he's now into the supernatural. So like, isn't that insane? I thought that was a crazy part.
Okay, the craziest part out of this whole series for me was the deer that gave birth to a baby. What was that episode even about?
I guess they had to put some kind of like horror effect in there because that's all it was. It was like a baby was born.
It wasn't a baby. It was like a toddler.
Yeah, it was a baby at first, and then it like rapidly grew and was like by the middle of the episode, it was like a adult or something. And it was like, I don't understand that scene either.
And I don't know where there was a herd of them that came through that were all pregnant, and there were like noises of children. It was creepy. That was the creepiest part of the whole thing for me.
I'll tell you what, Blue Jay annoyed the hell out of me.
I was just going to ask, like, what was your least favorite character?
Yeah, Blue Jay, and then that other girl, like, there was one voice actress in there that I just, like, what was her name? She just stood out because she acted like she was reading off a script, like it was that, like...
Oh, what was her name? The
Was it Rachel? Rachel was her friend.
Ellie?
Something like that.
Hold on. See, I gotta...
But yeah, they, she just...
Lilith and Eve.
Lilith and Eve, okay.
I could have done without them. Like, I don't feel like they really brought much other than Apollo's death.
Yeah, Lilith and Eve were just kind of like along for the ride. They were just other people that were like on those boards.
They were trying to be like a vlogger, like they were recording their thing and wanted to get like video of everything. So those two didn't really stand out. Yeah, Blue Jay got annoying after she came out. Like,
she was like, this is all fake, and this is all like, you know, after like each person died, it was like, you guys are still fake. This is all fake.
She thought it was all actors and that Rob had paid.
And then she like lost her shit when it was the baby came out of the deer, and then like
that whole scene was
they ended up killing it. Like Rob, I think, killed that thing because he had to shoot it or something.
So something happened with it. I can't remember what, and it got hurt.
And then he
I think-
shot it, yeah.
Yeah, and then he put it out of its
And then she
misery.
was like, I can't believe you guys killed the baby or whatever. And
She went crazy.
yeah.
That scene.
Yeah, so that was pretty crazy. I think I have a little bit more I was gonna ask. So yeah, Bristol tells Rob she's one who saw him in the. She did tell Rob that I was the one that saw you in the forest, and then he was sitting there thinking about it and was like, oh no shit, and then but the exact encounter happened on the road when Bristol tried to engage the figure, which was actually Rob, scared, running away. Same thing happened with Rob's son's wife. Once Bristol found her on the road, she told Bristol the whole time she was trying to find her and was mad at Bristol for leaving her husband. So yeah, she was like, she saw this image of a woman walking on the road, right? And she was following Alice the whole time. She thought it was herself. So she was thinking, oh, I got to go on the road and travel. But it was really Alice she was looking at, because the being or whatever, she can like put images in your head and stuff like that. And so I guess she saw this image of a woman walking on the road.
So what was the symbolism of her dragging her out of the water? Like,
yeah, that's the
freeing her
part
spirit
I don't
or
know.
something?
Yeah, that was weird. Like she was saving her, and then she buried her, and then it was like her spirit came, and she was like, "Thank you for burying me." And then that's when they started talking.
Oh. All right. Well, let's.
Who was the? Oh yeah, here's another one. Who was the man on the radio at that town?
I don't know.
He was like some creepy guy. At like the end of the episode where he's like, I don't know, I forget what he said exactly, but he was basically like releasing something out of a cave, like those things that were in the city, those like monster things. Remember that the ones that were like chasing them, they were only hearing, they were going after the noise, and so that's when Rob had to like blow up those cans, and then they basically made a run for it. But I think he released those things. I don't even know what those were. Some kind of creature. But I'll have to go back and listen to that part of the.
Was he from the town that the hitchhiker talked about?
Yep. That second. So after the hitchhiker, and then they made it to that town where those guys came with the hook and got that guy. That's just weird. Like I don't even know what.
I think this is more like symbolism, like the choice of like perfection, right? They made the town seem like it was the most perfect option.
Yeah.
So maybe that was just like showing you it's not always the best option. I don't know.
I just can't understand. Like people were still dying, so I don't know what. Because when they try to talk to those people that put them on the hook, they weren't even like, they got shot by Rob, and they still didn't even like, it didn't faze them. They just kept on talking about whatever they were talking about.
Who was that got put on the hook? I don't even remember.
That guy that showed up, Ace.
Ace.
Yep.
Most forgettable character, the first one that goes.
Yep, exactly.
I forgot all about him.
Did you have any other?
No, I was just saying, like, if you can't already tell, there's a lot to talk about. Yeah. So if you're watching this, or if you've already watched this, I don't know if you have any similar questions, or if you guys can answer any of the questions we had that we didn't really figure out.
Yeah, I would love to hear from other people about this. Like, if you put stuff in the comments down below.
As a person who doesn't like scary and horror, I didn't think it was too bad, except for the deer episode. Yeah. I could have done without that one, but I like it was really well done. I'd recommend it, and
I've listened to it like 3 or 4 times, so I definitely recommend it. It was one of those things you got to listen to more than once, because you catch on things that like you see at the end of the series, and then you go back and say, oh, I want to go see what, go back to the beginning and see what they said about something. So it's really interesting. You got to listen to it a couple times to really, I still understand some of it. So
if you get it, tell us.
Yes, please tell us. Please inform us.
But anyways, hope you guys liked our rambles on the Left Right Game.
These episodes will get better as we go
This
on.
is just for us.
Yeah.
Like, but well, can you link the podcast? I don't even know.
Link it?
So they can,
On Spotify? I can try to link it on there.
he will add that in the description box. But-
Yeah, you want to get one of I think you can get on Apple Music or Spotify, and I think there's a couple other ones, but you want to listen to there's other people that have done on YouTube, and it's like they're reading and stuff. It's just not the same. You need to get the one with the voice acting and stuff. So, but I think we'll leave it at that. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Catch you on the next one.
Bye.